My book, Hua Yan and the Making of the Artist in Early Modern China, originated with a tenuous association between the 18th century artist Hua Yan and what we commonly refer to today as Yangzhou school painting. Hua Yan and his followers characterized him as the mountain man of Xinluo in poetry and painting, a construct that shaped his artistic production and his social experiences in the two Jiangnan cities where he was most active, Hangzhou and Yangzhou, as well as the afterlife of his work in modern Shanghai. In this study, I asked, what exactly makes someone an artist in early modern China? Why do some artists become visible in local contemporary society, while others, like Hua Yan, largely elude social and artistic status during their lives? And how do these marginalized artists gain posthumous recognition or a place in the canon? Many of the earliest records we have about Hua Yan come from his social circle of poets in Hangzhou. His friends described him as a mountain man, embodying the ideals of erudite learning coupled with rustic inclinations to remain distant from society. Nonetheless, Hua Yan struggled as a poet-painter and so traveled widely, often reflecting his perspective in his works. His giant pung pictures a mythical black bird in flight. It's a subject from Zhuangzi, and the work relates his own sentiments about personal transformation and success. Hua Yan's works often display a self-awareness that we typically do not associate with professional artists. By crafting lyrical word-image relationships in a range of subjects and styles, his works demonstrate his versatility as an artist, while positioning him as an interpreter of human experience. It was Hua Yan's ability to infuse traditional subjects with humor and satire, and to find interest in unusual or mundane subjects through captivating portrayals that offered a unique perspective on nature and humanity. Subsequently, Hua Yan's perspective, his ability to see things differently, came to define his artistic identity. With sensitive insights into uncommon subjects, his works blurred typical binaries of amateur-professional status, private-public audiences, and even high-low artistic sensibilities. Struggle as he did, Hua Yan left his family in Hangzhou and found work as a resident tutor in Yangzhou, where he sojourned for over 2 decades in the 1730s and 40s. During that time, he created many works that demonstrate his close friendship with his host, a salt merchant whose family fortune was in decline. Working in the cosmopolitan city of Yangzhou, Hua Yan used painting and poetry to navigate his inner and outer worlds and his lived experience, often with psychologically probing portrayals that exposed the social and economic realities of professional artists in this rapidly changing society. In Yangzhou, wealthy salt merchants invited Hangzhou poets and occasionally painters to their literary circles and social gatherings at their garden estates. They recorded them visually and in historical records. However, Hua Yan's recognition as a poet-painter largely depended on the status of his patron, who was not invited to such events. So while wealthy Yangzhou patrons often solicited members of Hua Yan's circle, such as the poet, painter, and calligrapher Jinnong, Hua Yan eluded invitations to gatherings where his name might have been recorded in local histories. Instead, Hua Yan remained obscure, historically disassociated from his well-known friends. Rather, and significantly, Hua Yan saw Yangzhou from the margins. He offered a critical perspective on the competition and greed he saw in society, weaving together classical references and popular folklore to define his role as an astute observer of nature and humanity. In doing so, Hua Yan's works were calls to like-minded friends and potential patrons, reiterating his role as a mountain man, aloof from external markers of fame and wealth. He visualized ideals of Hangzhou poets that were so popular in Yangzhou, ideals embraced by younger artists, such as Jinnong's disciple, Loping. Hua Yan himself had but one known disciple, Zhang Zijiao, who noted Hua Yan's advice to him on this posthumous portrait. The advice reiterated Hua Yan's belief in the making of the artist, whose crafting of things expressed his world, poetically and visually. Following Luoping and Zhang Zijiao, later generations of Yangzhou artists often responded to Hua Yan through copies of his works and inscriptions. Wang Su's disciple, Nitian, who became active in Shanghai, often created paintings that reference Hua Yan as the mountain man of Xinlu. As the salt trade in Yangzhou declined, artists in Shanghai were inspired by Hua Yan's intimate yet unembellished, penetrating glimpses into human nature. Their works humorously pondered traditional social roles, such as those embodied by the scholar. Although biographical and lineage-based methodologies can be problematic, it's important to investigate why later artists described the Xinlu school at that particular moment. What about Hua Yan or his works appealed to later artists? How did he grow so popular among later artists when he struggled with recognition during his life? Later artists like Wang Li reveal that Hua Yan's work as an artist served a social purpose. His interest was not simply to decorate the homes of the wealthy, but to explore the mechanisms of wealth and power. By visually reflecting on nature and society, Hua Yan brought awareness to things that often went unseen in his changing world. More work is needed on the lives of artists in Jiangnan from the 18th through 20th centuries. I hope that future studies will consider artists who challenge the dominant modes of production through their words and images, and how their works may help us to understand the nature of making art in modern China.